So if technology has been a force on media, it's made media interactive. As a result, it's made media intelligent. And if we continue with this idea that technology and media will increasingly seek to make our lives simpler and easier and more intuitive, it may become invisible. Maybe it will get to the point where it stops us from having to interact with it at all.
Globally, only 40% of the world's population is online, but a lot of companies are working very hard to increase that. So Google, as one example, has Project Loon, where you have stratospheric balloons that are projecting the internet down to less populated areas. You've got examples like Google Fiber, which started off in Kansas and now is in 10 cities in the US, where you get 1 gigabyte of power per second. Messaging, as we've heard a lot this week, becomes a lot more relevant. The opportunity to personalize and anticipate what people want. One specific example of that with Google is moving to Google Now, which is trying to anticipate what people want before they search. So I think if you pull all of those three things together, we're moving to an exciting future, a future that could be described as media that certainly the line between people, tech and media is becoming thinner and potentially disappearing in the future.
I think, as I see it, for us it is as well that combination of, if you like, the collaborative approach to journalism, but absolutely underpinned by tech. And the open approach means, yes, media is becoming more invisible and intuitive, but it's data that enables us to spread our authoritative stories, our point of view around the world in tune with where the audiences are shifting.
This is about democratization, right? So it's about democratization of technology. So we now all have access to more technology than we ever did before, and more power in our pockets than used to be in our desks 5 years ago. It's about democratization of information, but it's about understanding what that means. It's understanding what it means to brands and media owners. And to your point, I mean, we don't live in a world where you can control the message anymore. You can't. And I think only stupid brands would think they still can control the message. The smart brands are the ones who realise they can actually encourage the message to be grown, cultivated with their audience, and give them the power, give them the control.
I'm very much two minds with it. I go back to when I was a planner in the 90s. I worked at McCann's and I worked on the Coca-Cola account. And every year at Christmas, major cultural experience for most of the planet, they would have this one ad called the Christmas Caravan, holidays are coming, and we'd blast it out every December, and it was a great success. And that was in the 90s, and you wonder now if they still had that opportunity. Would they actually cut that ad, given the signals that they could have, and put a different version of that ad out for main shopper versus teenager? And would that have the same impact? Or would that have the same discussion the next day? And actually, there's a very real example of that during the World Cup. So you had Nike with a 4-minute ad that actually became YouTube's most watched ad last year. And then you had Adidas, who created over 200 different ads. So the idea was that they were going to push out those ads depending on what happened during the different games. But both advertisers deemed their campaigns a great success, but they followed the two different extremes of different routes.
We're very, very clear about the fact that we do want to become one of the world's most influential news brand, and we can do that because it's our professional journalists, yes, working with citizen journalists and sources from around the world, but it is our professionalism, our expertise that will enable us to do that.
Just quickly to chip in, Vice were here 2 days ago. They have 6 million subscribers who actively choose to watch them, who they say are young audiences. They have 35 offices globally. They hire professional journalists, and they're worth over $1 billion valued. So there's the web is providing an opportunity for professional journalism to audiences that didn't necessarily get that in a traditional way historically. I think it's all in for mobile. That's my kind of overall message at the moment. And as consumers, it's almost ironic, it's certainly not invisible that on average we use our mobile phone 150 times a day at the moment. And I think it's going to be the mobile that drives us away from text and more to display and to video communications. And really my big message through this is dive into mobile and learn from it, because it'll be the fastest way to...
I wonder also if it's, a lot of times people sort of see it as a platform to learn how to do, and actually it's just media ubiquity really, isn't it?
Totally.
So actually understanding the context and what you want to create in those environments is perhaps key, and then mobile is the way to create that rather than doing mobile.
Exactly.
Perhaps. We're going to have to leave it there. In the spirit of invisible media, we need to disappear. But could you just join me in thanking my panel for coming along today?